What's up, YouTube? Mr. Llama SC here, and today we get some Diablo 4 updates from Blizzard. So I'm excited to read into them. I have not read any of it yet. There is literally zero reading that has been done. So this is going to be first reactions, live reactions. I'm going to stumble through words. I'm going to misunderstand things. You know how everybody does when they first read something. So let's jump over to it. Let's get ourselves into the Diablo 4 quarterly update, February 2020. They said they were going to drop it in February, and boy, did they wait to the end of February. But they got it out in February, so I got to give them props for that. All right, first things first. Table of contents. Introduction to quarterly updates. Okay, I thought we already had that introduction. Whatever. UI design, controller support, and co-op. All right, I'm interested to hear about co-op. I'm not interested to hear about controller support, and UI design I'm half interested about. Monster family and design highlight, cannibal tribes. Okay, so it looks like there's nothing about game design, more art and UI and things of that nature, less detailed mechanics. Okay, we'll see. I wish it was more mechanics talk, if I'm going to be honest. But let's jump into it. Hello and welcome to the new blog section of the Diablo 4 website. The Diablo 4 development team has been hard at work since BlizzCon, and we are all still incredibly energized by the response to our announcement and follow-up blog posts. We can tell you're all excited to see more info coming from the team about how the game is coming together. That's true. We have great news for today. We're stoked to deliver the first of our quarterly blog updates with you, and this one happens to be a double header. So are they not counting the last one as a blog update? Okay. Is that something else? First, we have a word from our lead UI designer, Angela Del Priore, something like that, with some super cool updates on the post-BlizzCon feedback, controller support on PC, and a deep dive into couch co-op. If you'd like to jump on her update right now, click here. Oh, wait, so first we go to... Oh, it's just the same page. Okay. Our second update is by our senior encounter designer, Candace Thomas. She shares a first look at a new set of enemies, the cannibal tribes of the Dry Steppes. Okay, I'm actually curious now. You'll see some amazing new art by Igor Sidorenko, some of our real in-world lore, boring, and even watch the video of these flesh eaters in action. I do want to watch the video. We hope you enjoy both these updates. We're looking forward to your thoughts and comments on them. Also, please let us know about the sorts of things you'd like to hear about next. Mechanics. We realize many of you are curious about different aspects of the development process. Some of you love reading and rereading lore. No. While others of you may geek out over item tooltips or want to hear some early music tracks. Or just items and stuff. So be sure to tell us what excites you most. All right, we will have that section at the end of today. Our goal for this update is to cover a wide variety of subjects and over the course of development, share some exciting news, share something exciting for everyone. Once again, we want to thank you all for sharing in this journey with us. See you in hell. Thank you, Luis. All right. I mean, I think it's fair. They have to talk about lore and all of those things because other people do find excitement in them. For anyone who isn't familiar with user interface design, our team is responsible for communicating game systems to the player and providing players with the inputs they need to engage with those systems. While you're focused on helping the player achieve what they want to do, we also need to balance that goal against the vision for the game while maintaining the clarity of what our interface is trying to communicate. As you might imagine, this means that we iterate on our UI regularly. As systems change, the UI changes with it, which can in turn cause player goals to change. UI then needs to adapt while keeping our visual language consistent across the entire game. Visual polish is one of the last things we focus on for this reason. That makes sense. Please keep that in mind as we talk through and show some of our in-progress work, but feel free to let us know your thoughts. BlizzCon demo feedback. It's been a few months since BlizzCon, but we still wanted to take a moment to address some of the UI-specific feedback we received from the demo and announcement videos. Inventory. We saw a lot of feedback around the inventory, either regarding its coloring, the style, size of the items, overall aesthetic. To avoid interrupting gameplay with pockets of inventory management, we're not planning on bringing back different sized items. Oh, that's sad. However, we've been tackling the other points from a variety of directions. With items, we'd initially pursued a painterly style to stay in line with the overall art direction of the game. We're finding it doesn't come across as well as when we're talking about the small elements in the UI. We're now exploring another approach much more directly based off the 3D models to give them natural texture and realism. We've also toned down the brightness and saturation of the icon backgrounds, as well as added secondary visual cues for indicating the rarity border decoration. This way, we've made rarity indicators visually more subtle, but hopefully with a wider range and accessibility. You know, I gotta admit, I like that more for sure. I think that was something for certain that needed to change, so I'm very happy about this. Just giving the items more oomph to them, more design, whatever. This is something that I noticed when I was actually playing Torchlight 3, which is kind of funny because Torchlight 3 is very cartoony and all of that. But when playing Torchlight 3, the items were like cooler looking, you know? And they weren't all the coolest looking items in the world or anything, but like they looked kind of cooler. And then also when I was looking at Wolcen, I thought, those items, even though there's still that like single item and you don't get to do inventory Tetris, which I still think should be good and should be a thing, I didn't mind it as much because the overall look of the character with all of the gear looked better. And so I think this is going to give a better look than before. This might almost be too muted on like a blue, you know, but I guess if it's the only one that's like that, then you just get used to that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that this is cool. I'm definitely for this. It needs a little bit more contrast, but I like the art. I like that the items look dope because that's something that I think is super important. You need an item to look cool. If an item looks like just some cheap little, you know, and this is kind of what I thought in the D4 demo and what you kind of see with Diablo 3 a little bit, like, I don't know, the items aren't like interesting enough in how they look because they're so like small, cartoony, whatever, the design of them, and it just doesn't like feel as good putting it on. So like this looks better, and if the size, maybe the size isn't this big, but if the size is still like a decent size, you can also put like more sockets onto like this armor and stuff, you know. That was another problem, is when they made it so small, all they could do was like 2 sockets on the armor and it was covering the whole armor, and it, you know. So yeah. So I like this. I think this is good. I obviously still am a believer of inventory Tetris, but obviously they want to push this onto console systems, and like they're not going to do Tetris with consoles, which is one of the issues of developing a game for console and for PC, is you have to make sacrifices on either side to make the game a little bit worse for one user versus the other, controller versus keyboard, right? So, you know, that's always one of the things when you try and develop for multiple platforms. And so that's a, you know, minor critique, but I think at the very least, they've made it look a lot better. So that's good. We received some non-specific feedback about the inventory, but we had guesses as to what people were reacting to based on our observations. We reorganized the layout of the inventory to what is hopefully a more balanced composition, and across the board, we're looking at the color spread and contrast levels of individual UI pieces. I still don't like it. I'm not going to lie. I mean, maybe I don't need to even see the character. Just take the character out. You know? It just looks so console mobile. Like, this isn't how a body gets, you know. I don't like this. I would honestly just remove this. Because you know what? When I equip gear and put stuff on, my character who's standing right next to my inventory, I can see them equipping the gear. Right? Like I'm looking at my character right over here. So why do I need to see the character here? Yeah, it's cool to be able to see your character, but then you can see that on like the main screen or something if you want this. Yeah, I don't like this look. And additionally, this makes everything too small, which again is one of the big issues when, you know, my ring is the same size as my boot. It just visually doesn't appear good to me. I would take this character, trash it, and then go back to the style of having the spread and having the stuff larger. So you have your helmet here, you have your armor here, you have your gloves, your boots, you know, whatever stuff. Like, give yourself more space. Allow these things to grow in size maybe when they're equipped or something, so that you can have something there. I can't possibly prefer to see item icons rather than my character. 1,000% I do. This just... It takes this and then it just makes it not good, you know? Like, this is great. I mean, we're gonna paint up something real nice for you guys. And you guys are going to be like, whoa, Mr. Lama, you are a genius. Let me just do some quick... Oh, wait, can I just copy this image? Yep. All right, and then come over here, and then hold up, and then we're going to go here, and then this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, then we're going to do this, we're going to like do this, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're going to do this. And then I guess we'll just do this. We're going to do this. And then we're going to do this right here. And in a matter of seconds, Mr. Llama has already created a better UI. How much cooler does that look? Okay, obviously I'm working with what they had. So like, take out a boot, you know, whatever. Like, obviously I'm just copying from the 5 items that they have. So I don't have any rings or anything like that. But like, how much more godly does this look? And this is with like, you know, there you go. Now it looks cooler because it's not this white background. Straight up, this inventory looks 1,000% better already. Like, give items some size to them and let us see the beautiful artwork. Like, literally compare this. This is Mr. Llama's 2-minute inventory. This is the Diablo 2 one, or Diablo 4 one. Mr. Llama's choice, their choice. Right? But like, you gotta have good size. And yeah, like, you can say that's the Diablo 3 one, sure, but like, that's also where they have it very cartoony and stuff, right? And so this is where you're coming at it with better, just whatever. Like, there's a reason that this works. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me find a picture. Yeah, so like here's the. All right, let's do this, and then let me go here. Let me do this. Okay, and then we'll copy that, and then we'll come over here. Do new. So here's the Diablo 3 one, which like there's no good art on this, right? That's clearly the issue here. Is this what the Diablo 3 one looks like? Something like that. So I don't mind the positioning of things on this, but you know, the artwork is the issue there. But all of a sudden you go here and oh, come on, do the what? Where did I? Oh, I didn't save it. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. You do the thing that I just did, and it looks better. Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this UI. I think and I think with the as good of art as this is, these items look sick. With as cool as these items are, I think you need to give them a better showcase right here. Just we still got the attack defense stuff. Yeah, all right. Whatever, we can move on from that. We hope to both home in our goal of a gritty, realistic UI while balancing the ease of use. As the inventory screen is something our players will probably interact with the most, we appreciate your feedback in this area. Too much WoW influence? Potentially, yeah. Potentially. Rebinding left click. A surprising number of players ask for the option to rebind their primary skill to anything but the left mouse button so they could separate moving from attacking. Surprising number? I feel like this is the standard request in the last 10 years. But hopefully they've done it. Adding more flexibility to our binding options had already been on our radar for a while, and the demo feedback will confirm this is a customization features players really wanted. Additionally, give players freedom to assign any skill to any slot from the get-go. All skill slots can now have their keys rebound. Yay, that's good. We're committed to supporting skill rebinding for controllers as well. Okay, great. I mean, I feel like this is pretty standard, right? Like you could rebind everything in Diablo 2. So I would be pretty upset if we weren't able to rebind any of that stuff. But it's good that you can rebind anything like that. That does make me happy. And they're giving the move. So you know what? Like, good. I'm happy that we have it. Left corner action bar. We went through a lot of iterations on this piece of the UI. The left corner configuration came about because we wanted to try clearing the central combat area and freeing up the bottom of the screen, where the isometric camera already sees less. However, based on usability test results, team feedback, and feedback we received from the demo, we're going to move the default position of the action bar back to the bottom center for players. Okay, I think I like that. It was a little weird over there. Honestly, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But, you know, I like having the orb a little closer, and I don't know. This feels a little better. This feels more console-ish. So, that's not all, though. The preferred position changes the left corner when people play further away from the screen. This doesn't... Oh, the preferred position changes to the left corner when people play further from the screen. This doesn't come as a surprise given the shift in viewing angle, illustrative diagram below, but it does not mean that the center configuration is a majority winner on PC, since we're supporting controller input. So while we will only stick to the corner configuration on consoles, good. We will offer both left and center position options on PC. Cool. Okay, so we don't have to. This is just if you play on console, you can have that. Cool. Works for me. I love this little... Oh, God. You like the corner? Well, it's still there. It's going to be both of them. Supporting controllers on PC. First time a Diablo game is being developed simultaneously for both PC and consoles. The decision to support controller input on PC is what caused the greater paradigm shift for us. We want to give players the ability to switch between the two options freely, so our UI needed to be unified enough that swapping hardware inputs on the fly wouldn't throw people completely off kilter. A unified UI means our layouts are more grid-based for ease of navigation, but it doesn't necessarily mean an identical interaction flow. All right, let's watch. Do people really move between them? Like, I feel like if somebody's playing on a console or controller, they always play on controller. But maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy. Okay. Whoever's using that mouse needs to work on their mouse skills. We try to maintain this sort of approach of keeping established keyboard and mouse conventions while creating controller-friendly shortcuts or alternate flows throughout the game. Controller support shouldn't be a limiter on how complex our game can be. It's very true. Just means we have more paths that we need to consider. It's not a simple undertaking, but we're really striving for a native feel for both types of inputs. I switch depending on the game? Sure, but I don't feel like anybody switches. Maybe people do. Between in the middle of a game. That would be my thing. We know many players enjoyed couch co-op in Reaper of Souls, and that's the biggest complaint was the inability to do anything while one local player had a UI screen open. When the topic of couch co-op came up early in development, we looked at the number of people who utilized this feature in Diablo 3, found that the two-player setup accounted for an overwhelming majority. For Diablo 4, we decided to focus on improving the favored two-player co-op experience and set up our core progression UI screens such that they can be open independently or at the same time. This doesn't really affect me, but cool. I mean, that seems like a good thing to do. We iterate on the interface regularly, and ease of interaction comes before visual polish, but we still welcome impressions at any stage. Everyone approaches the game with a different set of experiences. Consequently, different expectations for how things should look or work. Always interesting to hear these perspectives. Okay. Monster family and design. Oh, here we go. Let's watch it. Do they just stand there, I guess? I can't full screen. I have to go to YouTube and then start it over, and it's a whole to-do. It's a turnaround. I don't know what that means. I guess they just walk around it. All right. I mean, those monsters look cool. I can't pause it. Oh, there we go. There we go. If you have the chance to watch our World and Lore panel during BlizzCon, you learned that monsters in Diablo 4 are classified into families. In our various panels, we covered different monster families, such as the Fallen, who are returning once again to terrorize Sanctuary, and the Drowned, who are a brand new threat plaguing the shores of this world. We touched on their story, combat abilities, and regions they inhabit, and how they interact with one another in a meaningful way. Now we'd like to give you into a new look of a new family called the Cannibals. Sweet. What is a monster family and why does it matter? Before we dive into the specific mechanics of the Cannibal family, let's take a moment to talk about our design philosophy when it comes to monsters. In the bestiary of Diablo 3, we classified monsters into broad categories like demon, unholy, undead, humanoid, or wildlife. These monsters served as an anchor to the story by adding to the overall setting and tone, which made the whole game feel complete. In Diablo 4, the vast and seamless world we created necessitates a slightly different approach to world building and storytelling. It requires building Sanctuary as a living, breathing character, especially to its creatures. Since we have everything from serene ocean cliffsides to the gaping maw of hell itself, what does that mean for the bestiary? Well, to fill those areas and make them feel real, we needed to have more non-aggressive wildlife than in Diablo 3, but never fear, we still have plenty of monsters to fight. Every monster has been reimagined, but in a darker, more gritty art style. We have lovingly handcrafted every creature you'll encounter from the ground up. That includes demons, NPCs, act bosses, and even skittering creatures you can crush underfoot. Nice. Though we still pay tribute to some hallmark gameplay, such as fallen shamans, resurrecting other fallen. We have completely reimagined things in other places. To have these creatures feel more sophisticated and robust, we design them in what we call monster families and archetypes. Each family has a different combat style and feel. For example, the Drowned family has 5 members in various archetypes: Bruiser, Ranged Combat, Melee Combat, Swarmer, and Dungeon Boss. Whoa, look at that. Nasty. Oh, that's the 5 of them right there. Each archetype plays a different role in combat. Swarmers strike in groups, making AoE attacks feel satisfying. Bruisers are larger monsters with high health values, which will make damage over time abilities feel good. Melee combat units act as shields by standing in the way of projectiles for the ranged counterparts. Situations like this provide the player with interesting positional dilemmas if they want to focus fire on ranged units. When adding all of this together, each encounter with the Drowned will be slightly different with regards to player positioning and choice of attack. I mean, that's always good. These rich and varied combat experiences are the power of a monster family. Ooh, we got a work in progress for the cannibals here. Corpses riddled with bite marks, splintered bones scraped clean of marrow, tongues sawed off, and eyes gouged out of their skulls. Jeez. These are the bloody fingerprints of the cannibal that the cannibals leave behind, if they leave behind anything at all. No one is certain where they come from, but some legends claim they are a former tribe of barbarians banished from area years ago. Whether their cannibalism led to the exile or developed out of desperation afterward is unknown. The outcasts brought their endless hunger to the dry steppes, and from there spread to the far corners of the world to prey on some lonesome caravans and unsuspecting villages. That's a big old boy right there. The few who survived encounters with these butchers share the same stories. They tell of the mad fire that burns in the eyes of all cannibals, of how eating the flesh of their victims in battle only fuels their hunger for more. They whisper of the unlucky souls spared and the attacks hauled off like livestock for the raiders to pick clean until their next hunt, and then say no more. The silence speaks for them. Sometimes it is better to die than to live and remember. Brutal. A battle for survival. Do we get to... Oh no, they just are showing the... I guess I can... Hold up, which window is this? No. This one. So that's a barbarian fighting against them, I guess. Pretty dope. Cool. Now that we've introduced some new lore about this family, we can dive into how we try to use them to give a cohesive experience narratively, while also providing the peaks and valleys of combat expected in a hack-and-slash ARPG. What does this mean for cannibal combat design? How do we convey their story through combat? We took a couple of approaches. Weaponry. The cannibal family has 4 members. They each have their own unique weapon and a significantly different silhouette or stance to help differentiate them from one another. 2 standard melee combatants, one wielding a 2-handed greatsword cleaver, which delivers a slow sweeping frontal attack, and the other using a lightweight halberd, which allows them to leap at players from a great distance and crash down with a devastating attack. Alright, let's watch it. That's pretty dope. Especially if I can dodge out of the way of that. I will be very happy. The Bruiser uses a spike club in each hand to deliver intense blows that will stun players if they aren't paying attention. Nice. By contrast, the dual axe-wielding swarmers can unleash a flurry of frontal attacks that will quickly kill if left unchecked. So they're kind of like Death Lords, right? This is a less binary pass-fail than the Bruiser's stun attack. If the player finds himself surrounded by flurrying swarmers, getting hit by the Bruiser's dazing blow would remove all possibility of escape. That's good. It's the combinations of attacks like these that make this family so deadly. All right, well, that's nice. Archetype. Earlier, we explained how different monster archetypes play different roles in an encounter. For example, players who want to efficiently kill ranged monsters will need to learn how to reposition their accompanying melee attackers so that a cleverly dropped area of effectability will target both clusters of enemies. This makes for interesting on-the-fly decision-making, and skilled players will be able to spot the optimal positions for these attacks very quickly. By design, the Cannibal family has no ranged units. Instead, they spring at the player with supernatural swiftness. Some players may close the gap by leaping over obstacles and would-be competitors. Others will swiftly and deftly maneuver through the monsters to get first blood. This provides very different experience and gives the player less time to make thoughtful positioning decisions, thus making combat with these flesh eaters feel frenetic. That's it for today. Thanks a lot for... Wait, was there not another thing? Oh, no. That's sad. Thanks for staying a while and listening. I thought we had another thing. Darn. Okay. Let's give the overall thoughts and feels of it right there. I'm happy that we're getting more quarterly updates in the future. UI, this is dope. This is not. And it's even slightly hard to put my finger on exactly. Like, this part is very easy to put my finger on. This just doesn't look great. But I don't know, something over here as well. Is it just the colors? Bordering isn't strong. Maybe, I don't know. Something about this inventory doesn't resonate with me. And this is obviously a big piece. But if I block this out and I just look at here and this as a whole, it's like, yeah, maybe a little too basic or not defined enough. Like, maybe my life value just kind of existing right there is weird. I don't know. Is this supposed to be my stat screen, or is this supposed to be my inventory? I guess maybe that's the question I have. You know, like, shouldn't these things be over with my resistances and my, like, block chance and all of those values? Shouldn't all of that information be off somewhere together? I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is like so simplified and that's why it's just really strange. Like, these things need to be off, and like, where's my mana or energy values, or if I have any of those values, or you don't think there's resistances in this? There has to be resistances in this game. There has to be, right? Something about this isn't... I don't like this. Res must be in details. Oh, you click there and get your details for it. I want to be able to see those faster than going in and clicking details, though, you know. I don't know. Maybe clear this off. Have your inventory and character screen just be like every other game where you get to see the beautiful artwork and see the cool items and stuff that you're using is really fun. And then have another tab up here that has all of your like stats. It's just labeled stats, and it gives your level and your, you know, attack, defense, life, energy, mana, whatever stuff you use for that. Resistances, blocking, blah, 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 all of those things. These powers, yada, yada, yada. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I know it's work in progress. That's why I'm giving feedback. Defense is an all-encompassing value. Sure, but I want to see all of those things. I don't just want to see a thing that just says 16,911. Once again, that goes back to the idea that like too simplified is too dumb in a way, right? Because what does this mean? If I have 16,911 defense and then I put on something else and I have 16,915 defense, okay, my defense is better, but actually I gave up a lot of lightning resistance to gain slightly more cold res where I didn't need the cold res, and so it's actually worse for my character. But unless I'm going in the details, I can't see that, and so this defense value is just it's just a question, right? That's where attack and defense are lazy, because they don't give you it's too simplified, and so I don't get to, if I want to make decisions, I'm constantly having to toggle into my details to like check things, and then I still just, what's this value supposed to mean? It's just like a bad value indicator. What's a crit look like in the attack value? I don't know. That's a separate piece. That's something that I still want to see. I like that they did this stuff. I still want to see all of this stuff adjusted and changed. And I hope we go higher than level 40. I like the change here. Honestly, I don't think this is a terrible thing with the corner, though. I think the corner was perfectly fine. I didn't really have too much complaint with it. This is more natural, obviously, but I think this is fine. Couch co-op doesn't affect me. And I like the cannibal. The cannibals look cool. I like the idea of them. No range, but they kind of charge you. I think that's cool. You know, I'm all for it. Different kinds of families. Always all for that. So I think that this stuff looks good. I like the attacks and stuff from what they've shown from these animations. Yeah, stuff I would like to see more of is definitely stuff to do with mechanics of the game, continued thoughts around itemization of the game, continued thoughts around end game and boss fights and combat, and just more like the core components that I think, at least for me, the core components, because like some people be like, lore is a core component, but I'm saying like the core component of a mechanic, right? So like the game has to have good itemization and good items and fun items, and the way that they work and the way you upgrade them and the way that they can, you know, a blue can be better than a rare in a certain case, all that stuff, right? So what they're doing with that isn't really important to me. What the combat is looking like from the start to the end, because if it gets to PoE combat, the combat disappears, right? And so is that going to be a thing? Is it just going to turn into you can destroy the whole screen? What are we doing to make all of that stuff, whatever? How PvP is coming along, maybe some like updates on that, and just I'd just be curious what PvP is looking like right now for them. And then stuff that has to do in the way of like the skill trees and the talent tree and all of that stuff. I'd be super interested just to hear more about how that is going to flow, if they've made changes there, if that's still going to be you get every skill, or if they're considering other ways, how they're going to make builds more unique, and how they're going to convince me to play more characters, right? If I make one barbarian, am I never going to make another barbarian because this barbarian can just very easily do an item swap and then have all the other skills and have everything he needs right there? And so, like, why would I do another playthrough of a different one, right? Or is there what's gonna make characters unique so that I'm gonna want to go back and create the same character or another character to do more stuff? And yeah, so just kind of those things. And then, like, what is currency gonna look like? What's gonna be the role of it in the game? What are crafting materials and that role? All of those pieces, the playable parts of the game, that's what I personally want to hear about. Because for me, if the game looks like absolute trash but plays amazing, I'd still play it. If the game looks amazing but plays like trash, I wouldn't play it. So that stuff is more important to me. So yeah, that is my feedback there. Overall, they had to throw in more stuff with lore and things like that. I get it, but I'm definitely looking for more meat in these updates surrounding ideas, just because then we can give feedback on them and stuff as well, right? We can say, hey, this looks good, I don't like this, all that stuff. Yeah, so thanks for watching, YouTube. Peace.